A/B testing is usually mentioned as testing something in production where you launch multiple treatments and then you compare them. But is that so? Not necessarily, because we could actually mitigate some risks that we have, because once we launch a treatment, we can affect business revenue. After all, if we set the goal for 2 weeks experiment, then we might wait 2 weeks to see the final results depending on the statistical method that we use. However, there is a way to mitigate it, and the way to mitigate it is that before we launch any A/B test, we do an offline analysis and try to understand the effect of this A/B test on the business without actually launching it. And if in the offline analysis we learn that this A/B test can affect negatively the business, then we should change our A/B test before we actually check it in production. Another question that we ask while doing A/B testing is, why do we limit the false positives to 5% while the convention is to limit the false negative to 20%? So limiting the false positive to 5% means that we have a chance of 1 out of 20 to falsely accept the treatment, which means that we would launch the treatment, but it's a mistake to launch it. After all, it's statistics, and in statistics there is some chance of being wrong. So the 5% means that in 5% of the time we are going to be wrong. Therefore, we are much more restrictive in launching treatments, so we set it to 5%, meaning only in 1 of 20 A/B tests, only in 1 of 20 we would be wrong and launch a treatment which we thought would benefit the business, but is not necessarily so. It could even be a negative effect on the business. And on the 20% of not going with the treatment, this is okay, because we are just going to continue with the existing code that we already have. We are not going to make a change to the production system, so we allow ourselves a large error margin, a 20% error margin. When we look at the metrics, when we run A/B testing, that we have multiple time scales for metrics. We have those that are immediate. The click rate, whether a user, how many clicks do we have? We have metrics that are more fetched on a daily basis, like revenue. We can't know the exact revenue right off now. We usually want to do some aggregation. So the metrics that we look are not necessarily on a freshness of 1 minute, 1 hour, but a freshness here of 1 day is good enough, or actually this is the freshness that we actually want. We want to check the revenue after a day and not after 1 minute or 1 hour. Also, the number of active users, the profit and loss, the time on the application, all these metrics we do not want, and we cannot have a way to track them minute by minute, but only after 1 day. This is the natural freshness of these metrics. Also, we have much longer term metrics like the monthly active users, whether an advertisement led to a purchase, what happened after the n days out of an action. This is just metrics that we can know only after weeks or even after months of having an A/B test running. So in that case, 1 minute freshness or 1 hour freshness of metrics would simply not make sense. Also, if a metric is dramatically better, then we cannot accept automatically the result and launch the treatment automatically. Why is that? Because if a metric resulted to be dramatically better than the control, we might have an error, we might have a bug. Maybe we charge our users now by a bug 10 times, so our revenue has increased. But this is actually a bug. So whenever we have an extreme value, even an extreme positive value, we cannot automatically accept the result of this A/B test. We must go further and dive deep and investigate this experiment. Because when doing A/B testing, we are exposing a production system into errors, which means we can deploy a bug. This is a new code that we are deploying to production. Then we have multiple ways that we should mitigate with. The first way is to do an AA test, which means we just run the control group twice and we just check that our metrics looks okay, we don't have exceptions, the code runs well. Then we start with launching the experiment to a small subset of the users and then we increase it. And of course we should do manual test and integration test and system test that would encapsulate both the control and the treatment groups.